people in the waiting room. So welcome everyone to this Club Connect call put on by Orienteering Canada with the assistance of Marquetta Graham, one of our board members. Just to give you a little bit of a background about why we're doing this, there's been a request, it's I think a couple of years ago now, from our Team Canada athletes who have expressed an interest in having access to Livelox as a way of tracking routes during competition and doing some post-race analysis and that sort of thing. So that's why, and there are some advantages to having some athletes have their own personal license, but there are advantages to having a national license. So this would be one that would be administered or paid for by Orienteering Canada, or at least in part by Orienteering Canada. And then this would be something that all Canadian athletes could then use to upload events and to track their routes as they run through the woods. We have 3 panelists joining us today. Hans Fransson from DGL. He's going to give us a perspective using the free version. Maybe he can talk a little bit about, or I'm sure we'll learn about the differences between the free version and the paid version. Andrew McLaren is from FWOC in Calgary. He's on the Team Canada, and we'll be talking a little bit about Livelox from an elite athlete perspective. And Dylan Poe is joining us from OUSA. The US has had a license for a number of years now, a national license. So he'll give us a perspective on how that works and some lessons learned. So we'll start with this brief overview that we're in the middle of here, and then each of the panelists will give a short presentation, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. So just to give a brief overview of what Livelox is, it's an online orienteering analysis platform that allows event organizers to upload course maps and results, and participants to automatically upload their GPS tracks. It allows you to view and compare multiple GPS routes on the same course, analyze route choices and navigation decisions, replay races, and see time gaps develop. And it supports athlete development and coaching, and just generally enhances the post-race experience. I'm sure you've all seen at the end of a race people comparing their splits and that sort of thing. This is allows you to do that, but it's that kind of analysis plus. If your participants are carrying a cell phone, it's actually possible also to do live tracking using Livelox. That's if you're competing in an area that has cell phone coverage. I'm up in the Yukon. There are many of our maps where that wouldn't be possible, but most parts of the country allow that. I'm just going to I'm just going to show you. Orienteering Canada currently has a system that's called Route Gadget. This is an open source software that's we're basically just paying for the server to host it. Route Gadget's been around for many years. It has a bit of an antiquated user interface. Requires a little bit of if you're not uploading events every day or regularly, there's a bit of a learning curve to it. So there's a barrier there, and there's also a barrier to athletes uploading their tracks. It's not as straightforward as Livelox. I'm sure we'll hear how Livelox is integrated into various bits of software like Condes and Garmin watches and things. The ability to upload tracks is much slicker, and hence you get more usage. This particular example here, I'll just start the animation. This is from an event last spring. There's really only 3 clubs in Canada that are using this: Nova Scotia, Ottawa, and FWOC. So this is the sort of thing it looks like. You can, there's a few things you can do. You can look at the full routes, and you can sort of look at a little bit on looking at some splits analysis and things, but dim the map in the background to make the routes pop a little more. So there's, this particular event, there were only 9 people in this particular, on this particular course. You can see how many on the right there were registered, but very few of them actually uploaded tracks. So I'll stop there, and maybe I will pass things over to, just a second here. I'm going to figure out how to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yep, I can take it from here. I will share my screen.
Okay. Yeah, I just was trying to disconnect. There we go.
Let's see if I'm able to connect here. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the free version, which is the one that I use, and it's not because I like to save money, it's because I need to work as well. So if I would have all the features, I probably would not have time to, get anything done at work. So the free version allows participants to upload their own route. What you need is a Garmin watch or a Polar watch or a Chronos watch that you carry with you, obviously, when you're running. And then you need to subscribe to Livelox as well. To upload your own route, you do not need to pay, so that's for free, as mentioned. And you can also look at events, and you don't even need to subscribe to do that. Anyone can just go in on Livelox, like in this case here. Hopefully this works. You just click on all events, and you can filter it. But this is just what I clicked to today, so there's no time restriction, which means that I can actually see events that's already been preloaded all the way to, yeah, it looks like some test AI in a year from now. But I'm gonna click here and just go from the past week, and I can see that we have, even in Ukraine, sounds incredible that they're able to do something, but it seems like they have an event there. We got the United States, UK, Italy, and as you can see, this is obviously something where you can get stuck for a long time just watching a bunch of different maps and courses, and people are running. So if I just look at clicking one here, this is not too far from where I grew up in Sweden. It's a night orienteering. Now, the obvious this is in Swedish, but you can trust me when I say that means long. So I'm going to look at the long one. And I get, maybe I should have prepared this one. This seems to be one that is used some kind of forking. All right, maybe a little bit more complicated than what's necessary. But on the left side here, you see there were 5 participants who participated, or at least uploaded their route. With a free version, I can only look at one at the time. So I have to choose. All right, so that's one of the restrictions. But once I've chosen whoever I want to watch, similar to what Eric showed before from the root gadget, I click on play and can adjust the pace of the runner. And what's neat here is they actually orient the map, which makes it a bit easier. Some other map programs, you kind of have to twist the map or turn it to yourself. So this is a pretty nice feature, even as you can see, zoom in here. But I can skip that one, and if I want to as well, I can go leg by leg. If I click on the legs there, then I can get a little bit more information. Then I can only see one route at a time, but at least I see the different times that they had on that particular leg. And clicking on one after the other to see if there was any differences in the route choice. Doesn't seem in this case. Well, there was one who made a little bit of a left hook, made a little bit of a mistake at number 2, and something like that. So this is What I usually use it for is just to go around, look at maps, areas, races that I'm interested in general. If I've run it myself, obviously I go and check out my own events and see how I ran and compare that with how I thought I ran. And then, of course, it's good to when you're preparing for races in the future. To look at maps. If there was races on that map already, you can look at, the different kind of uh, times that the runners had between the controls to get an idea if it's fast or slow. You can up even, look at who's the course setter and look at different courses that he or she put together and see if you can find any pattern in those sorts of things. So still, even if you use the free version, it's lots of there to look at. Um, yeah, so what I also thought I'd just show is how to set up an event. Just a quick overview here. So um, if I go to this, and you don't need to pay to set up an event, and it doesn't have to be a race. You can just set up an event that you literally is the only one running and have it up on Livelox. So it's the manage events is where we go first. And in this case here, it's add an event. And you would fill in or add event. That's where we would click. And I already sort of prepared, so I called it the DJL March training. And this is what it looks like when everything has been filled in. But this is sort of the uh, that that form that you need to fill in once you add an event. So just some general information. So if I click on the edit one there, the name, the start time, end time. That is just sort of the window of the event, time zone, country, organizing club, and if you want to have an icon, you can upload that. You want to call it a training or a race, and what type of event, and if you wanted to have it in the event list so everyone can see it. So this is sort of just type that in. Cancel that. A couple of things that needs to be added as well is the map. And that map is you upload it from OCAD or Open Orienteering Mapper. Depending if your map is georeferenced or not, you may need to play around a little bit with that because uh, otherwise the whole route will be or the whole map, and when you upload the route will be wrong. So now the map thinks I'm going to georeference it. So it puts Hamilton here on the left side because that's where I'm located at the moment, and then the map on the right. So what I have to do here is I have to kind of find the map on Google Maps and click on the map, click on the same spot on Google Maps, and sort of do a manual georeferencing. Um, so I have to go, this is Rockway, which is towards Niagara, but I kind of have to find it here and then find spots on the map that I can use easily to identify on Google Maps, and then it will be sort of georeferenced that way. But if your maps already are georeferenced, that's very convenient because then you can just upload it and you're good to go. Um, then the two other things I just want to show as well is the courses. So courses is if you use Purple Pen or Condes, probably OCAD as well, you can just upload the courses to Livelox. And what you see here, the names here and the controls is what Livelox detects. So it puts that in automatically. I don't have to do anything. So in this case, I already uploaded that file for this March training. I put together 3 courses, 1, 2, and 5. And then I'll resave that. And in my Purple Pen file, that's what I used. I already had classes sort of assigned. I just call them course 1, course 2, and course 5 just to make it easy for myself because it's just a training. And they all appear here as well. Again, just by uploading that purple pen file, it was all done for me. So it's kind of user friendly in that regard. And that's doing those three. So fill in the general information, uploading a map, and uploading the course file from Purple Pen is basically all you need to do, and then you're good to go. And then if you want to have a look what it looks like, I guess I could go back to Livelox. Let's see, where do I see that? I should be able to see it somewhere. All right, just bear with me a minute here. Okay, there's somewhere where I can actually check that it is all good to go. Oh yeah, there it is, a show. So here, this is what it looks like eventually on Livelox. I can see that everything is in place here, and then they even have added the course length. And if I click on replay now, it will say that since I'm an administrator, I can see it, and then I can just make a quick look to make sure that everything looks okay, what it looks like to do in this case. And that's 3-4 steps really just to set up in this case a training. So it's only a couple of courses, obviously a little bit more work if you have a large event, but then most of that work is something that you will have to do for like in your Condis file or in your Purple Pen file, whatever course setting program you use. QR code is pretty convenient too for any event. Put it on the map, and then you can just have the runners scan it when they have finished, and then they can immediately go to where to upload their route, and literally within seconds or minutes they have their route on Livelox, and the post or the race analysis can begin immediately. So I think I will stop there. I know Andrew and Dylan has a lot more details to talk about, so we'll pass on to them. But hopefully you got a little bit of an overview here about how you can set things up, and a couple of those sort of basic features that you can see in or find in Livelox.
Thanks, Hans. That was very informative. We did get a question. Actually, Dimitri and I were thinking exactly the same thing, but maybe we'll hold off on those questions until the end of the presentations.
I think I will partially be answering that anyways.
Oh, okay.
Can you see this good?
Yeah, we're sort of, at least I'm seeing just sort of an echo of the screen.
Let's see.
Now it's working. Oh, it was.
Sorry, is it can you see this?
Yes, we see the presentation now.
Okay.
Oh, you can see.
Okay, great.
Andrew, thank you.
All right. So I'm going to mainly be going over how I use this as like a high performance athlete, but also how anyone can use it to help analyze their routes. So firstly, for doing route analysis, it kind of comes down to 3 steps. So first, you want to identify where you lost time during the course. or identify that there was time loss. So look at your splits, either from your race splits that you got on wind splits or your splits printout, maybe also your GPS splits if it was a training. Then you want to identify what actually caused those time losses. So was it just that you took a bad route choice? Were you maybe just stopping and hesitating a lot? Was it that you were just going in a bit of a longer route because your compass direction was off? Maybe you were just physically slow running through certain parts of the terrain. And then the last part, and the most important part, is deciding how you're actually going to improve on this in the future. So, I mean, running a training is half the actual training. The other half is then analyzing that and figuring out how you're going to improve on that in the future. And that's where a lot of the benefits and improvements really come from. So Livelox enables this by a variety of features, one of which is that, first of all, like Hans showed, you can just replay. So you can just have everyone who ran the course just start from the beginning and then just play the race out at whatever 10 times speed, 20 times speed, even 1 time speed if you so want, and just see how the race was going when it was live and see how everyone was running head to head if they all had started from the beginning. Another option, like Hans was showing, is that you can instead look leg by leg and see exactly where on each leg people were losing time or gaining time. So here we can see on the left, it shows us all of the runners who have all uploaded their routes. And then it shows us their time on that leg, the distance they ran on that leg, and the pace across that leg. And then it nicely color codes the routes for us, showing also a bit of a bar on the side of the color gradient of the different times. So here we can try and use this to identify, was our route just maybe bad? Did we have a lot of, do we have to go around a lot more? Were we making mistakes? And it's really good to be able to compare it to other people, since just seeing your race on its own doesn't really tell you a whole lot about what else was going on. This will also tell us the leg distance as well as the distance from the start, and then we can go and select whatever leg we want. What it also lets us do is define a custom leg. So this could be a series of controls. This could be some segment from a leg. But here we can analyze whole parts of the course rather than just the whole course alone or leg by leg. So here, for instance, we have a couple of controls that are all clustered together tightly. And it doesn't really do a whole lot to just see, okay, where did I go on this maybe 50-meter leg from 4 to 5 here? What is a lot more useful is to look at the whole series of controls and see what happened between all of those, since that gives us a much bigger sample from what we can look at. And also when you're running a lot of short legs in succession, you're not really worried about each leg one at a time. You're more so worried about that you're just hitting all of them and keeping up with your map reading, especially when it's coming at you so quick. And then, yeah, we can also look at just part of a leg. So here, I'm looking at the leg just from when we hit the trail into the control. So this leg is a fairly easy leg for the first bit, since we are just running towards a big collecting feature. You can kind of just run hard until you hit the trail. But what I'm really interested in is how I executed and how everyone else executed the leg after they hit the trail. So here you can see that a lot of people chose to go straight with varying degrees of success. I myself here ended up going around on the trail and coming off of it, which I lost a bit of time, but I was still faster than some of the slower ones who also went straight. We can also get a lot more detailed analysis in our leg-by-leg analysis by looking at the exact pace across the whole leg. So all of the lines of all of the routes on the right, we can see, they're color-coded by pace. So more of the red side of pace, that's going to be a slower pace, versus green is going to be more of a full speed run. So we can see that out from 13, going up that hill, everyone's moving really slowly. And then after that, we kind of get to the flatter trail parts in the White Forest, and people pick up their pace a lot more. But this can be really useful to identify areas where we're slowing down, but not necessarily moving around. So, I mean, for instance, you can see up towards the end of the leg, you know, some people are hooking a lot more left. And it's easy to identify a mistake based on, you know, if there's a big squiggle in your GPS track, or it shows you going way away from where you intended to go. But what can be a lot more subtle sometimes is that you were still going along the straight route, or you were still in the right spot, but you're just moving slower, either because you were just hesitating because you were unsure, or maybe you were just physically moving slower through the terrain. An instance of that is we can kind of see that coming down off that first hill through these rocky areas, the pace on the leftmost route kind of stays consistent. It's pretty green, but on the rightmost route, it's a lot slower and it's getting a bit more orange. So we're losing a bit of time, even though we are still running straight and ideally still trying to push hard. We are definitely getting slowed down by the terrain, and maybe also just by some uncertainty trying to read ahead. But we can see here from this exactly where a lot of the time loss was in the leg. So we can see that the leftmost route had a really good line out to the trail and was able to run faster on the trail than running on the right through the forest. And they were also then able to go pretty fast, and most of their line is pretty green the whole way through for the rest of the leg, versus the two legs on the right, they have a lot more orange and yellow in them, indicating that the athlete was running slower during that portion. Another thing we can look at here is dual leg analysis, which lets us compare just two routes together across a leg. And this will tell us, this kind of helps us break down the leg into different parts of the leg, showing where those routes diverged and what the time loss was. So what's showing us here is that the first part, everyone's kind of running together, or the two, Jan Erik and Greg, are running together up until this one point, kind of around where that 3 is, where their routes split up, and one of them runs along the base of the hill and up the hill a little bit more. And here we can see that one of them lost 8 seconds going up the hill, versus the one on the right was faster by staying along the bottom. But then we can see that we have -4, so the route on the left gained 4 seconds, or they were 4 seconds faster than the other route, likely because they were already higher up on the hill. So this can just give us a lot more detail into a leg and all the different parts of it, since really a leg is just a series of other smaller legs between strong features like the trails or any other strong attack points that we can use to help break the leg down and know exactly where we are during that. We can also then look at the whole splits table. It's very much in the same style as wind splits. So it shows the fastest, it shows the splits for each leg as well as the splits across the whole course. So for each athlete, the top row, that's showing the split for that leg, and then the bottom row is showing the entirety of their like cumulative time across the whole course. And then it highlights what you were, where you placed during that leg. So we can see exactly who was the fastest on each leg, maybe where you ranked on that leg, and also where you ranked at that point in the course. So, I mean, a lot of the time you'll see, oh, you were running really good for the first part of the race, and then you had a big mistake or something happened that really threw off your mindset. And you can see that you really dropped off and fell down a couple positions from just a specific leg. And that can be really useful to identify spots of where you need to improve and just give you more of a detailed analysis into your race. There's, since this is mostly GPS based, it can just automatically calculate all of these splits just from your GPS track in the course. But you can also then upload the actual splits from the event if it is a race or something like that. And then that'll give the exact race splits, which can be a lot more accurate. Although for most purposes, the GPS splits are plenty accurate. Now, it doesn't just give you traditional splits. You can also look at how your route length compares. It can also show your route pace. So for each leg, it can tell you exactly what your pace was and rank the paces between all of the athletes running it. In the screenshot here, we can see the different route lengths that were being used. And we can see that, okay, on leg 4, the shortest route was 365 meters. But we might also want to compare that to the time and see, was taking that shorter route really worth it? Or was that a bit of a time loss, and running around on a longer route at a faster pace was going to be better? It can also tell you the specific pace between the controls, and one of the also more interesting ones, that's a bit unique to Livelox is that it can tell you your route length as a percent of straight line distance. So how far did you actually go off of the straight line? Were you running 10% more than just directly on the straight line? And one of my most favorite features that I think is one of the most beneficial for Livelox is that it automatically will upload your route from any of these services. So if you have a Garmin watch, a Polar, a Suunto, Coros, any of those, once your watch uploads your GPS track to their app, just for like you would for a regular run, it'll automatically upload that to the Livelox events that are during that time at that location. So what this is really useful for is, for instance, at a race, you go, you run your race, you finish, and even as soon as you finish, once you get back to wherever your phone might be or your car, wherever you have that, it can just automatically sync your watch, and then your route's already posted. No need to go and manually upload it. No need to pester other people to go upload their routes. You can compare it to them. Everything's just already uploaded. You also don't need to crop or align it. Since the map is geo-referenced, it'll just automatically put it up there and automatically figure out all of the splits and all that good stuff. And you don't have to do any manual editing there at all. Also, in a similar vein to this, like with Route Gadget, after the event's over, then the organizers have to go and upload the route or upload the course and the map, whereas Livelox lets them set it up ahead of time, and then it can automatically be published after your last start or whenever you want it to be, so that the event is already viewable by the time people are finished. I'm sure we've all had the experience where you run some race and then nothing gets put up or uploaded, but maybe a week later, the organizer sends out an email that, oh, hey, upload your routes to Route Gadget. It's up now, which is not really a fault of them, since there's many more important things to go on after an event, cleaning up, and obviously they're exhausted, so no fault there. But being able to have that all done ahead of time, and then it just gets automatically uploaded after the event is over, is great. It just really allows much better analysis, since you are able to do that analysis when everything's really fresh in your mind. Also, when everyone is still at the event, you can go talk to other people and look at their routes together. You don't have to wait until the event is uploaded. It can just be ready to go. And like Hans was saying, you can put the QR code on the map or at the event center, and people can easily access the map, or you can go through and look for it online. Now, another one of the big things for me with Livelox is that you can use it for more than just races. So with Route Gadget, you have to be an authorized user to be able to go and upload the events, and then there's a bit more to it. But with Livelox, you can upload races and trainings, and anyone with an account can do that. The map files can be OCAD, Open Orienteering Mapper. They can even just be a PNG or a JPEG, any sort of image file. So that can be really useful for when you're doing trainings, where maybe you just have an image of the map. Maybe you just want to even take a photo of it with your phone. You can still upload that, and then, like Hans was showing, you can georeference it just by using the overlay of the satellite map and the map. So that makes it really easy for you to upload trainings, versus with Route Gadget, it's not so much easy for that. It can also support a variety of course options. So that includes forking, scoros, corridoros, linos. And yeah, so that adds a bit more flexibility to the various types of trainings that you can use. It also has integration with ORange, which, if for those who don't know, it's very similar to MapRun. It's a GPS orienteering app for your watch. You can upload a course onto it, and then when you're out running there, you don't need a flag. Your watch will just beep at you when you reach the control location. So that's really useful for trainings. A lot of us high-performance athletes use that a lot of the time, since we don't really have the resources to get someone to go out there and set up trainings or set out flags for trainings. Instead, we can just have the course, upload it onto our watch, and be good to go. And so how it integrates with Livelox is that you don't really need to set it up specifically on ORange. You just upload an event onto Livelox, and then you can go into ORange and pull that event directly onto your watch. There's no need to set up things separately. You just get to set up the Livelox event, as straightforward as that is, and then you have a fully ready to go map run similar type event all on your watch. You can also do live tracking, like Hans, or I guess like Eric said earlier, for safety or for maybe better event production, but that does require you to have a phone on you and to have a connection to be able to stream that. Another one of the really useful things that I like is that it has built-in user guides. So if you can kind of see on the upper right-hand corner, there's that little question mark. So on whatever page you're on, you can just click that and it'll show you the user guide for whatever mode you're in. So Livelox does do a great job of making the simple things simple to do and easy to do, but it also has a lot of really advanced features, and there's a whole lot you can do with it that might not be as intuitive, but for those advanced users who really want to get into it, there's that available. So these user guides are just really helpful to be right there on the page to help show you how to use various features and various tools if you want to do a lot more in-depth analysis and use a lot of these more advanced tools. There's also plenty of other resources to be able to use these, many documentation pages as well as YouTube videos. And those just make it really easy to figure out how to use, how to do some of these analysis, how to create accounts, how to create events. It just makes it really easy that everyone can set up an event, whether you're a seasoned race organizer or you're just setting up a local training for your club and you want to be able to improve the analysis there. And yeah, I guess we're saving questions for the end of everything. So that's all for me. And I'll pass it on to Dylan.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andrew. That was great. Lots of good information there. All right, Dylan, it's over to you. Oh, God.
I assume everybody can see my screen okay. Brief introduction of myself, Dylan Poe. I'm involved with both the Indiana and the Cincinnati clubs in the United States. I've been on the Orienteering USA Board of Directors now for 4 years, I guess. For now 3 of those years, I've been involved with Livelox in one way or another. Initially, I was the task force chair to investigate OUSA getting Livelox nationally. And since we've been using Livelox, I've been the Livelox coordinator for Orienteering USA. I'll try and go through what the Livelox task force was, what it did, and then how we're implementing the national subscription in the United States. So the idea of Livelox nationally came from a club, Orienteering Florida. Blake Matthews had used that Livelox in his club for 3 or 4 years before coming to the board with the idea of using Livelox nationally. So Claire Durand at the time was our president, and I kind of volunteered to investigate Livelox and to put together a report to see if having Livelox nationally was a good idea or not. So the goal of the task force was to investigate Livelox and its alternatives. So that'd be other GPS replay services, the main one being Route Gadget. I'll get back to the report in a minute. So throughout the report, try to look at objective things to see if getting Livelox nationally made sense or not. So the first thing we tried and did was to go through all of the GPS replay services we could think of. So Livelox, Route Gadget, Quick Route were the main 3 that I knew of before this project, and go through all the features that we could think of that you would want in a GPS replay service. So this is kind of a really, really broad overview of all the services we looked at and what features each service had. I can see Livelox and Route Gadget had the most features, with Livelox having all of them that we tracked. I do think the asterisk on Livelox is no longer correct. You can display multiple courses on a screen with Livelox now. I was either wrong from the beginning or it's been updated since we did the Livelox report. Then the tough question to ask was, do we know people were going to use it if we offered it? This is not an apples to apples comparison at all. But my original club, Orienteering Cincinnati, used Route Gadget for almost every event up until we switched to Livelox. So there's a good base of information about how many people were actually using Route Gadget if it was offered. At the time of the task force, there's a few clubs using the free version of Livelox. As you see from the previous two presenters, the free version is heavily restricted. So I was surprised we even had clubs using the free version of Livelox in the first place. Between like I said, not an apples to apples comparison, but between Orienteering Cincinnati and the Tucson Club, there was a comparable upload percentage between Route Gadget and the free version of Livelox. Um, Going on. So we've already kind of got an overview of Livelox and Route Gadget from the previous presenters, but Route Gadget is very dependent on somebody having some sort of coding knowledge. So Orienteering Cincinnati had exactly one person who knew that, and they would upload routes or upload the events days or weeks later. And each club that in the United States that would have Route Gadget had their own site for Route Gadget. So you would not only have to wait for the route to or for the event to be uploaded to Route Gadget, but you'd also have to find where that event was on the organizer's webpage usually. So um, Livelox is in kind of an opinion now, but Livelox is a much better put together site. Anybody with internet access can put up an event, and anybody with internet access can view an event from anywhere in the world. Livelox, as you saw with Andrew, so many different ways to analyze a race. And as you see in the previous slide, I can go anywhere in the world and see a map that was uploaded by anybody. Everything's in one spot. And that was kind of one of the main drivers for Orienteering USA to do that, was because we didn't have anything like that before. Sounds like Orienteering Canada has their own national route gadget. Orienteering USA did not have anything like that before Livelox. So the Livelox task force took a few months to go through and make the report. At the end of 2023, we submitted that report to the Orienteering USA board and proposed to buy the subscription for the 2024 calendar year. For the last 3 years, our cost has been based on the number of Orienteering USA members. So Orienteering USA has paid Livelox yearly, and then that would grant everybody in the US access to the Livelox subscription for that year. While the task force was going on, Livelox granted Orienteering USA basically a trial period. So they unlocked all the features for free for about 2 months. So everybody in the US could try out the features for free. And like I said, once the Livelox task force proposed buying the subscription, Orienteering USA approved that proposal, and we started our subscription in January 1st of 2024. This has already kind of been gone over, so I'll kind of briefly go through this. Access restrictions. Livelox is very friendly for the organizers. So anybody who's set up as an admin for a club can put an event on Livelox. I'm the main Livelox admin for Orienteering Cincinnati, but for the Indiana club, there's 3 or 4 of us that work together to put on an event in Livelox, so it's not always the same person doing the work. Some clubs in the US kind of split the responsibility depending on who the course setter is. So if you do a course this weekend, then it's your responsibility to put up the Livelox, and then next week that course setter puts up the Livelox. Just kind of for example. One of the key things on convincing the Orienteering USA board to approve the subscription was to keep track of the how people were using it. So I took some manual data and kind of kept track of how many clubs were in the subscription, how many clubs uploaded an event in Livelox, how many routes were uploaded per event, and then the number of hits per tab. So Andrew kind of went through all the tabs, the table, the duo analysis, the legs, and the replay. Livelox tracks how many times that tab is clicked kind of per country. So if there's questions later, I can kind of go through the update document and what data that Livelox can provide us, and then what data that I gathered manually to show the board that yes, people are using Livelox and that usage was increasing in our first couple of years of the subscription. A little bit on the more in the weeds on how the subscription works. subscription applies to clubs and not individuals. Orienteering USA kind of does this a little bit differently than other nations. Usually, if a nation goes to Livelox for a subscription nationally, every event in that country gets access to the subscription. That made the Orienteering USA board a little bit nervous. They didn't want clubs not associated with Orienteering USA to have access to a subscription that OUSA was paying for, if that made sense. So Livelox worked with us to make sure that only Orienteering USA clubs had access to the subscription. That also means that people from outside of Orienteering USA, if they compete in an OUSA event, they get the benefit of having the features from that event. Hope that makes sense. I can clarify in questions if that doesn't make sense. But if you go to the OUSA event and that event is on Livelox, you get access to the features. Um, I've been working with the Livelox admins kind of continuously, especially for the first year or two. In order to add a club to the subscription, that club would have to contact me, and then I would contact the Livelox admins to get that club added to the subscription. That's been streamlined a little bit more. I can now, as the Orienteering USA contact, I can now add and remove clubs from the subscription as I need to without having to go through the admin, Livelox admin. I think this is my last slide, so I'll kind of wrap up a few things here. The Livelox admins have been great to work with. There's two main ones that I've kind of communicated with off and on. So any problem that I've had, send an email and I get a response the next day. Based in Norway, I believe, and working out bugs or working out how we were going to do this subscription. They were great to work with and were ready to answer any question or help in any way they could. And if Blake Matthews from Florida Orienteering, he also goes to the Livelox admins to kind of implement new features and new ideas into Livelox. So if you have any questions about Livelox, reach out to the info at livelox.com, I think is the address. And they'll get back to you within a day or two. Another kind of key point for Orienteering USA to get the subscription initially was to kind of drive people to use Livelox. And they believe that one of the barriers was to teach people how to use Livelox. So as part of the proposal, I spent another couple of months making a how-to document for users. So basically what Andrew went through. And then made another how-to document for organizers, how to set up a club, how to set up an event and access restrictions, how to set up live tracking. So any of those documents I mentioned and linked in this presentation, happy to share the Livelox report, how-to documents, or the data. Any of that, if any of that is of interest, please let me know and I can share that. And these two documents are linked on the Orienteering USA website. I hope this will switch tabs on your screen. But under the club development at the bottom, close to the bottom, is our small Livelox section. We have the how-to documents for participants and for club officials, and then we also have an introduction flyer that clubs can print out and leave at their download station, for example, to help drive people to that club's Livelox page. Went through a lot of information really, really quick, so I'll open it up back to Eric and questions.
Well, thanks so much, Dylan. That's a lot of good information there. And actually addresses some of the concerns we've had about similar to OUSA about having a national license. For us, the cost to have an annual license it's a bit of a hit to our rather limited budget. So we've been hoping to have to do some sort of cost share with clubs that are interested, and this is perhaps if Livelox is willing to do that for Canada, that's maybe a way to make that work a bit better. We could offer clubs some small annual subscription fee that would help cover the annual cost. Yeah, so I'll open up the floor to questions. You can either type them in the chat or just unmute, and hopefully we won't have a cacophony of voices. Well, there's a question here from Jennifer O'Connell asking if you have a different brand of GPS recorder that creates a GPX file. Does that work, or do you need to have a sort of one of those, like a Garmin or a?
I'll take a stab at that question. If you create a Livelox account and go to link your Garmin account or whatever, I think there's like Garmin Coros. I'm actually going to just share my screen again, see if I can answer that.
Yeah, I had those in the PowerPoint. It was Garmin, Sunto, Coros.
Yeah.
But if you don't have any
I
of
think
those,
what Jennifer's asking though is
automatically
if you just,
or you can't automatically upload, but you can still manually upload a GPX file.
oh, okay. So even if you had like some kind of just a small GPS receiver that you might use for recording hikes or something, you could download the GPX file and upload that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I use like free Strava on my Apple Watch. And so it's in Strava, but I know that I can log into Strava and export a GPX if I wanted to.
Okay.
Until recently, you could also automatically upload from Strava, but Strava has changed a lot of things recently.
Yeah, they're mad at Garmin. Yeah.
Hi, it's Yuri. You actually can upload any GPX track to Garmin Connect, and Garmin Connect would send it to Livelox.
Oh, okay. So it looks like there's multiple ways. There's that way that Yuri just described, and then also just a direct GPX file upload to Livelox. Andrew, you had a question. Andrew Cornett.
Yes, Eric, thanks very much. So it's not really a question. It's just I'd like to share an anecdote, I guess, that speaks to the power of the Livelox. So I was actually the event director of the event at Calabogie, which Eric showed at the very start. So that was last year. And thanks to Phil Turkanu, we decided to try live GPS tracking through the Livelox at that event. So athletes carried, or on the elite course, at least a few of the athletes carried their phones with them out on course, and they were recording in real time using, I guess, the Livelox on their phone, and then that was being through the cell network being we could receive that in the arena and show the tracking in the GPS tracks in the real time on a screen in the arena. And the first thing I want to say, it was great fun to watch these elite athletes going through this challenging course, and Robbie Graham doing a big hook around the control, and things like that. So there was a big crowd of people kind of cheering them on while they were out in the woods. So that was neat to see. The other anecdote I'll share is that we had an athlete on the men's elite course who was in way over their head, right? So we were able to see after being out in the course 3 hours, they were only maybe halfway through the course. So he was clearly not going to make it back in time, or actually I think the course was going to close within the next minute or so. And he wasn't anywhere near. He was on the backside of the mountain, sort of thing. So I was able, because he had his phone with him, I was able to find the number for this person, and I called them up on their phone, and I was able to check in with them, make sure they were okay still, and actually asked him to report back to the arena, explained to him that the course was closed and he had to come back. And so that was great. He did, he made it back to the arena, but that saved a lot of stress for me, basically being in charge. I would have, this person would have been overtime, and without the live tracking, we wouldn't know where he was, right? So it would have been a stressful time. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share, I guess.
No, thanks, Andrew. Those are some good points. Yeah, so there's some sort of safety issues, and then we can also generate a lot more excitement in the arena for live tracking. Is it? I guess it's only with cell phones. They don't have. It's not a like. Do you know if it's available with Android and iOS, like or Apple?
Yes,
phone?
I don't really know, but
I can
maybe.
add to that.
Yeah.
It's both Android and iOS, sorry. Um, Livelox is also working on a tracker so that you don't have to take your phone into the woods. In the US, we've done away with 3G, so Livelox is trying to make a 4G tracker so that they can sell in the US. There's information on that on their website, but they are selling a separate GPS unit for live tracking.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. There's a question, Dylan, for you. Wondering if the OUSA license has been stable for the last 3 years, or has it changed because of different membership
Yes.
and participant counts?
Um, it has increased. Keep in mind that they are in Norway receiving the payment in krone, I think is the Norway currency. So the US dollar has become weaker over the last year, so we saw an increase mostly due to that. But otherwise, it's been about a 3% increase when you look at it from the Norwegian krone, 3%
Okay.
per year.
Okay.
We are looking at so far we've been doing year by year. We are looking at doing a longer term deal, maybe 3 or 4 years, to try and keep the price more stable.
I see. Okay.
Does that increase represent inflation or growth in user base?
Both.
Okay.
So just to continue on the theme of pricing, when you initially set a price, you were sort of guesstimating how many people might be using it. But are they basing the rate on the number of members of OUSA or the number of people uploading tracks?
They're basing the price based on orienteering USA members.
I see. Okay.
Just another data point. I'm down orienteering a couple of times a year down in Australia, and of course, Orienteering Australia back in 2024 also bought a national license for all of their clubs. And so basically in Australia, every event that you go to, whether it's a training event or a C event or a B type event or a national event, they're all on Livelox. And it's really quite amazing to be able to go on at the end of the event and see everyone's results quite quickly, automatically uploading. So I think it's really done a lot for the Australian events, having this national level license that means it's there by default.
Thanks for that, Mark. Any other comments or questions for our panelists?
I'm curious about the features in the paid account versus the freed account and like sort of what gets transferred from the federation to individuals. For example, with like being able to compare multiple athletes, multiple people's routes on at an event. If I get a paid account for myself as an individual, I guess I can then go and see those sorts of comparisons. Do those abilities uh if like you're hosting an event, does it then make it so that anyone who's coming and viewing that event can do those sorts of comparisons, or does it only apply to like an individual account of someone who belongs to a club who that belongs to the federation? Am I making sense?
I'll answer and see if that answers your question. For the way the Orienteering USA has it set up, the subscription is tied to the club who puts on the event.
Right.
So, all of the Orienteering USA events from Orienteering USA clubs have access to the features. So anybody, whether they're Orienteering USA member or not, if they compete in that event, and upload their route to that event, they can see all the features.
Right. That answers it.
Okay.
Similar vein to that, I'm just wondering how does the setup of like the club accounts work? Like, is there a club admin account that has to make the event, or is it just you set the event under the club name and now it's offered as like a premium event?
Yeah, thought that might come up. I will share my screen again and try and show if I can switch my tabs. Let me do, well. So this is a page that only I can see for the Orienteering USA. The list of clubs is every club that is in the United States. And then the check mark by the club indicates that I've allowed that club to have access to the subscription. So you can see the Arctic Club, the Badger Club, Bay Area, Buffalo, for example. Then if you go to um, at an event, whatever club that um, that has access to the subscription, if they're in the organizing clubs, then they get access to the features. Hopefully that makes sense.
So could I like set up a training for myself in Canada and then say, oh, this is organized by Orienteering Cincinnati, and now it would have all the features?
You would have to be an admin for Orienteering Cincinnati.
Okay, so you
So
have to be an admin
yes,
account for that club to be able to add it to that club.
yes.
Okay.
As you see,
Makes
I'm
sense.
admin for several clubs, but yes, you would have to be an admin for that club and then add it to Livelox. Yes.
Yeah, I think Dylan mentioned that during his presentation that you work with you're primarily with two clubs, and in one of them you're the only person who can make events, and for the other club there's three people
Yeah.
that can do it.
And instead of uploading the GPS tracks to Livelox, what about uploading the results from MEOS event? Is it easy enough? Is it real time? How does it work?
Are you
Is
asking
there
me?
anyone in particular you want to answer that, Dimitri?
I don't know who's using MEOS as you do.
So, are you asking, so MUS download software, if you can get your splits to export as an XML file, then that is the file that you would upload into Livelox for these splits. I believe Livelox, that's the one thing about Livelox that it's picky about is the splits file structure. I can point you to a few people in the US that have worked through that. But bottom line, XML file is what is needed to upload splits. I'm not familiar with
And I
MUS,
presume
but
that's the IOF XML format.
I have
yes.
I
So
have
yeah,
recent experience with that. I did that for our Canadian Championships. I just exported the results as IOF XML from MEOS and directly into Livelox. It was straightforward.
So it's not a real time. It needs manual intervention, right? So
I assume that there's some mechanism for doing it in real time, but I'm not familiar with it. The software is, I mean, MEOS has all kinds of stuff for broadcasting results. So, but I'm not familiar with it.
but I remember from Andrew's presentation that Livelox actually has the ability to extract approximate splits anyway from the GPS tracks.
Yeah, so
So
until
I presume.
the splits are uploaded, it will just automatically calculate it based on your GPX track. And then once you do upload splits, then it'll overwrite those with the exact splits from MEOS.
Yeah.
I thought it was curious. The splits view on Livelox looks very much like wind splits. Same color palette. Any other thoughts or questions?
have you been speaking with Livelox to know how much it would cost in Canada and how does the pricing work? Like Canada pays a price and then each club gets a license?
Well, that's one of the things we haven't yet worked out. The price that we were quoted last year, so it may have changed as well. The Canadian dollar also has lost a bit of ground against the Norwegian krona. It was 3,000 US. I mean, we're smaller than the US, so I don't know how that compares to what the US is paying. But so that translates into sort of 4,400 Canadian dollars per year,
For everyone?
which is a sizable fraction of Orienteering Canada's annual budget. So, so we're thinking that perhaps Orienteering Canada can cover some part of that, and then maybe we could have a model where clubs that are interested in signing on could pay. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a random number. We haven't discussed it, but maybe $100 a year or something to sign on.
Do you think that
Something like that.
price is the only price, or because it's a little confusing on the Livelox site, but it looks like clubs have pricing too? Like
Well, I think if we do it as a national license, then it's a single price that covers the entire country, and how it's organized internally,
yeah.
I guess is up to us.
Okay.
Although and this was news to me from Dylan's presentation, that there actually was a mechanism to have, to allow clubs to participate or not. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, I could just jump in again. I wrote it on the chat there, but since a few months back, there may be a delay for free users to view some events. So it could be up to 24 hours in certain cases, and it depends on if you don't have a premium subscription, and depending on if the federation has a subscription or not, and it's not part of a club subscription, and if it's classified as a competition and not a training, for example. So if you do for a training event, I think you can, check your route immediately. But if you set it up as a competition and you don't have any kind of subscription, then there may be a delay until the next day, which takes away a little bit of the fun. And that they started that in December. So I haven't really got used to it myself, but because most of the winter is mostly training anyway that I've been watching. But I think it's obviously a way to try to get people to subscribe and pay for the service. Even though the organizers are uploading their maps and everything for free, but that's another discussion.
I see. Okay. Well, I guess we should ask them about that. Get some more details about how that works.
I have another question, and this would be for Dylan. Are you aware of anyone in the US using Livelox, not so much for like competition or training, but for junior or kids programming and just kind of tracking people who are out in the forest and making sure that everyone gets in safe?
Yes. The Florida club where this all originated from, the reason that they had wanted to push it nationally was because that they were not mandating, but encouraging all of their JRTC attendees to use the live tracking on the course for safety. Yes. That has kind of popped up here and there in other JRTC events, mostly the live tracking portion. Mostly JRTC for junior live tracking. There, Blake Matthews has a whole web page and a whole section in the Livelox task force report on how to set up live tracking and how they've used it. I think they also have some YouTube videos on Orienteering USA forums on how Blake's has set that up for Orienteering Florida.
Thank you. I'll check that out.
Okay. And just for anybody else that's here, if I can provide any links or any additional information on what I've done and what our clubs are doing, happy to do that.
Just
Thanks, Dylan.
a couple of words on. I'm the auto orienteering road gadget guy, and I've been doing it for I don't know how many years now, and I'd be happy to stop doing it. That would be just fine. Feature-wise, there's no doubt Livelox. I mean, Road Gadget is 20 some odd years old. It has never been updated, stopped being updated years ago. So Livelox is far, far more up to date, impressive. Not a whole lot more features that aren't there. Road Gadget just a whole lot easier to use, plus some that aren't there. Clearly, the number one feature from a user point of view is the automatic upload. Keep in mind that doesn't apply to everyone. The same people who would do that are the ones who would spend the time with the Road Gadget and upload afterwards. It makes life easier. Hopefully, it would bring a few more people into it. A lot of the presentation here is being focused on the high performance side of it. I think the majority of our users, even with Road Gadget, use it because it's fun to look at. There's not all of them, that many of them who really have the intent to go and check every single leg and compare things and so forth. High performance, keen people, yes, but the majority don't. And again, I'm not saying anything against Livelox. That's my experience. My other experience with it is the setup right now. The nice thing about Livelox is most of it, other than the course or the results, are done before the event. Now, I try to do a lot of that Route Gadget before the event if I get the course designers to actually send me the files, despite the fact it's in the documentation. I normally have to remind them. Sometimes I get it beforehand, in which case, as soon as the results are there, it's like 20 minutes because I have all the tools developed to do it, to get it up. Generally, I think from a club point of view, the big question is going to be, how do you set this up in the normal routine and make sure it happens? Certainly, if you're using Livelox as far as the whole event structure, it probably makes it easier. I think our club would have a little bit of work to change the way we do business results and so forth. Quite doable as such. But I do want to point out that I listened to Dylan and the role he's playing down south. It shows the resources, if you want to make it successful, that have to be put into it. So when I also hear that from Canadian Orienteering Canada, it's a really tough hit on our budget. I think we need to keep in mind that it probably involves more than just that $3,000. It's also who's going to be looking after it, who's going to manage it from a Canadian perspective. So there's more resources required in it. So to me, it becomes down to a bit of a cost-benefit analysis. But again, I'd be happy to move over and get away and not have to do Route Gadget all the time. But there is a cost-benefit analysis from a club point of view that will have to be done. And that's nothing against Livelox. It's just, that's the way I see it.
Thanks, Michael. Those are good comments. Certainly something I've been thinking about. One of the things I've had a little bit of concern about is, of course, Route Gadget. We actually own all the data and it's stored on our own server, and it's there in perpetuity. If we go with Livelox, then I guess the data is around as long as Livelox is around, but you could always go and look at the data even if Orienteering Canada were to lapse on the Livelox subscription sometime in the future.
Yeah, and I'm not actually sure that if we were to lose all of the data from the last 10 years or so, whether it'd be a big loss from a Route Gadget point of view. I don't think too many people go back and go, what happened 3 years ago? Let me just check it. So I'm not sure that is a thing, but it is an issue again that Orienteering Canada does have to maintain the server, or is maintaining the server for Route Gadget.
Yeah, and that does have a cost. It's around $300 a year because it's a pretty old server. Like, we have to keep a server running that can run old PHP code.
Yeah, it's
modern.
And I've done a lot of I have my own applications that make it very easy to put Route Gadget up, but I'd be again happy to retire all of that stuff. But I do just stress again that USA has put a lot of effort from a high level point of view to sell this, push it out. document it, and so forth. And I think we have to be really careful. If we could do it, we need to do that as well from a Canadian perspective, or you're just sitting there and saying, here's another tool you guys can use if you want to, but we're paying for it.
Thanks, Michael. So we're at about an hour and 15 minutes, so we're a bit over time. Maybe last call for some quick questions, and then otherwise we might wrap things up. See on the chat here, mouse.
So, Eric, when do you think you can come up with a decision about Livelox?
Yeah, well, I guess I was going to pass it over to Marketa just to talk a little bit about next steps in terms of. I think we might put up a poll of some sort to see what interest might be from different clubs. Really, I think it comes down to it's a financial question. Orienteering Canada can't afford to pay the entire license. We're going to have to cost share that with interested clubs. Yeah, that's sort of where we're at. But Marketa, maybe you have some more things to say.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Charlotte, please feel free to step in as well. So Charlotte and I and Emil as well, we're working on doing a survey the clubs whether there would be an interest from the clubs, but there, I don't know, we haven't really fleshed out, like kind of, but we do we have a draft, and we want to ask a specific questions on how many users they're using with gadgets and how many users are there, and whether people would be willing to.
So to answer your question, Dimitri, I guess it's.
Charlotte, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah,
I think in the coming weeks, as Orienteering Canada finalizes our budget for the upcoming fiscal year, I think you can look. Yeah, you could expect to see some poll come out on the club Basecamp platform, asking for feedback. But Charlotte, maybe you have something to
add. No, nothing to add, unless just do people on this call right now, can you just write in the chat if you think your club would be willing to pay $100 to $200 a year for a Livelox subscription? If you could just make a comment in the chat, that'd be helpful right now.
Yeah, Jennifer had a good comment, was to see if we can get a trial period during some of the big events this summer. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was definitely something we thought about as well. And it's actually good to hear from Dylan that that's what they had for a couple of months before they dive into the full license cost. I think for us, it's all, right now, many people are not aware of Livelox in the benefits of it. So I think they gain with time, as people are using it more, there's going to be more uptake on this. So.
Charlotte, maybe you're familiar enough to know with Zoom to know how we can capture all the responses here. I'm not sure if there's a way to download the conversation. or maybe that forms part of the recording. Sure.
There should be a text file available with the recording.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Whoever's hosting this has access to it. I don't think I'm a host.
Okay, well, right now that would be me, but I haven't ever hosted a Zoom call before, so I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Yeah, save chat. Do that. No idea where it's saved. Oh, I see it saved on my. Okay, I have a saved chat. Super. Well, I think we should probably wrap up. It's getting a bit late. I really want to thank our three panelists for participating and giving us. Obviously, they've all put significant time into preparing presentations for us, so that's very much appreciated. And I'd also like to thank Marketa and Charlotte and Emil for working on the Livelox file on behalf of Orienteering Canada. Thanks. So thanks very much to all of you, and thank you all the participants who came to the call. We'll try and work diligently in the coming weeks here to figure out how we're going to move forward with Livelox. It's been something we've been talking about for quite some time. So it would be good to come to a resolution for the upcoming fiscal year. So thanks very much. We'll stop recording the call here and let you get on with your evening. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers.